In our society, legal professionals are held to the highest standards of ethics and professionalism. They are committed to a lifelong search for knowledge, constantly adapting as society and technology change. How prepared are you to enter the legal workforce? Do you have the skills needed to be successful? We asked several legal professionals what is expected from you as you enter the workforce.
To be viewed as professionals, we have to project that in what we say, how we look, and what we do.
One of the biggest worries that I have as an employer is that they understand that it's important that when we set deadlines, we mean it. Because I've had situations before where they'll call in sick, and I'm going to be in federal court that day, the brief isn't done, I need them to finish it up for me or do some more research. Now what? Now I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing it because my paralegal didn't feel like coming in that day.
As a paralegal, when you take that position and you're working for that organization, they've outlined the expectations to you. It starts at that moment, because anything you do can't be held against you.
To me, professionalism is more about confidence, and you need to act the part, I guess. You need to dress appropriately. You need to act appropriately in a law firm setting or wherever you decide to work.
We have more work than we can possibly do at any one time. So I expect that person, the paralegal, to be accountable to me as well as to the client.
How you represent your client and yourself, the agency that you're a part of, that's a part of professionalism.
It's like if you're a professional, I don't have to tell you something 3 times. I tell you once, I expect you to take it to heart and then make sure that you do your job.
If you are not dressing the part, it's hard to believe that you're able to carry out the part in which you are in.
I expect people, men, to be wearing ties. I expect ladies to be dressed appropriately. I expect sport coats from males. I expect suits from women.
So I expect them to actually be accountable for the work they do. If you make a mistake, and we all do, there's nothing wrong with admitting it. And that's what I want to get, the world's not going to end, so long as you tell me about it. If you don't tell me about the mistake, then the world might end.
So we're all going to participate in the court system. Everybody has to do their job and it has to be done in an ethical manner.
You will hear the juicy gossip. You know, you will find out things that doctors do that they shouldn't do. You will find out things that nurses do that they shouldn't do. And the important thing is to keep that confidential. Do not discuss it with your family. And it's easy to get into these conversations. Well, guess what I heard at work? And that is what we don't want our paralegals to do.
Even a non-lawyer has a duty to keep client information confidential. So you really want to watch what you say, when you say it, around who you say it, and what kind of documents you have out on your desks when there are people walking through the office. You want to be conscious of all those things.
They all put things on Facebook about patients, and you really shouldn't do that. We are subject to civil and monetary penalties for that, as well as you could subject yourself, obviously, to employment action, but you could be prosecuted as well.
Some resulted in them losing their law license, some suspended from the practice of law, paralegals losing their job, definitely losing the credibility that they would receive or respect from their colleagues.
The state bar has ethical standards we must follow. NALA has published a paralegal ethical code of conduct. We need to make sure we're not doing things that are inappropriate. Paralegals cannot engage clients. We can't set fees. We can't give legal advice, and we have to be very careful about that.
People will say, well, can you just do this for me? No, I can't. You know, that has to be done by the attorney. I can prepare it for him, but he has to do it. He or she has to do it.
There's a lot of things about ethics as to how you converse with your clients, getting them to sign the proper papers, billing them correctly, making sure your hours are properly done. It's a slippery slope people go down when they don't stick to the high standard that's expected to them.
If you're willing to take ethical shortcuts in one area, it raises a whole question about your reliability in other areas.
There are people that will cheat out there. Generally speaking, Those that do that don't last long in the profession, because myself as well as a lot of other lawyers I know, we won't put up with it. If someone cheats on pleadings or lies or whatever, I'm going to bring it to court's attention and point out what they've done, because it's not right, and I don't think our profession as a whole should tolerate that kind of conduct.
The worst thing a person can ever do is come in here and lie to me, and lie about something oftentimes that really isn't that important, because frankly, you never forget it.
As human beings, I guess we naturally form judgments and opinions about everything, and there's no way you're not going to be non-judgmental about anything. You're going to form opinions, you're going to form judgments, you're going to have emotions. The best way to deal with that, though, the key factor is being able to set those aside when you're doing legal work.
Keep an open mind. Don't make a decision about anything until you've heard everything.
Not let yourself get so caught up in it and where you're casting the judgment, because if you do, that casting of that judgment may very well impair your ability to do the job that you're required to do.
And so what has to happen is that you have to make sure that even if your client is guilty, that the evidence was correct, the evidence was admissible, the confession was appropriate, whatever evidence that they have, that you go over that and make sure that it all checks out and that it's valid.
When it comes down to it, you work for the client no matter what the client has done or what the client is doing. And if you're going to find that difficult, then I don't think the law is for you.
And so your first impression or your lasting impression may be that client is not a very nice person. However, when they bring a case in, the contract that they had has been breached, or someone has damaged their property, or someone has stolen their goods, or someone has sold them a bill of goods or something that was not true, and they have a case. And so you have to not look at the person that you're representing, but look at the cause.
Similarly, in risk management, those are cases where people have been harmed, allegedly, through medical care. So it's easy to sympathize with somebody who's saying, look, my baby is permanently damaged because of the way you delivered the baby. But you really have to divorce your feelings from that, stay neutral.
The reason we're in court most of the time is the fact that there's two sides to the story. When you represent a client and you're a paralegal and you're doing research for that client, you need to understand that the other side has a position.
The real test of the system is that the person that comes in has nothing, and you're court appointed, that person gets a fair shake, that you give them the best defense you can possibly give them. That's all you can do. I think the law is the learning process in and of itself. It's always evolving. It's always organic. It's always changing, because the values, the mores of our society, things that are going on in our world are always then at some point in time show up in the court system.
I never view life as I have arrived at any point, because wherever I reach, there's an ability for me to grow more. But it starts with my willingness to learn, to accept that which I don't know, but also strengthen what I know. In the profession of law, everything's changing.
The way that we share information is changing. An example in the legal field would be the transition from physical law libraries to now online legal databases.
We went from DOS to Windows, from Word perfect to Word in 1 year, and I was like, I want combat pay. And I went to a document management system. So the technology moves quickly, and you need to be adaptable.
So I think when paralegals come on board, that's an important aspect of their training, I think, because they're going to have to handle a lot of that stuff and know how it works and how it functions, the paperless stuff, and how to file things, whatever. And so it's always a learning experience.
I expect you to know more than I do when it comes to systems thinking, to what's going to work better. I want you to be innovative. I want you to make my job easier.
Communicating is everything, I guess, in the legal field. It's probably the one thing that will impact your reputation as a legal professional the most. Again, whether it's oral or written.
Paralegals, you need to have those writing skills. They're very important. Everything is written to our clients, whether it's an email, whether it's a letter. We draft documents. In order to assist our clients and do the best for them, we have to be able to write well.
To have any level of success in the legal profession, whether you're a paralegal, an attorney, or anyone else, you need to be able to understand and to be understood.
You need to get to the point, because I've heard many judges look at the counsel and say, "Counsel, get to the point. What's the crux of this whole thing? I've listened to you for 20 minutes now. I'm about ready to rule." So it's the same thing for the law clerk. Outline where we're going to go with this thing and then nail it.
The way you treat people affects the business you get. If you're harsh and brusque, they don't come back. They go to some other guy or some other lady. They don't tell their friends that you were their good lawyer or anything like that. No, the person who can sit there and relate to the client in a meaningful way, I think goes a lot farther.
You know, clients are generally happier when they feel like they're informed about how their matters are proceeding, and you know, being able to communicate with them and let them know that what they can expect, and being able to manage their expectations to a realistic level is an important part of keeping your clients happy.
It's primarily body language. Do I look like I'm engaged? Do I look like I'm listening? As far as the actual words communicated, it's about 7% of communication. The other part is vocal tone. Do I feel like this person, by the way they talk, do they know what they're doing?
Having that skill to have people believe you and think about what you're saying and give it credibility is an art, and it's one that everyone needs to learn. Follow the rules.
Constantly push yourself. Constantly grow. Allow yourself the opportunity to grow and advance.
So I want people who are willing to take that next step, who are just, I'm a paralegal now, but at some point I'm going to have your job. And then those are the people I look for.
The number one thing I would say would be to remain flexible, because like I said, the law is constantly changing and technology is constantly advancing.
It's going to be hard to find a job just by sending a resume somewhere blindly to somebody you don't know. Studies are showing now that more and more people are getting their jobs by networking. It's those interpersonal relationships that you make. It's who you know and who you're talking to.
The one thing I would stress above all else would be that you take advantage of the internship. Getting your foot in the door someplace is just invaluable. It's almost impossible to find a job out on your own in really any field. And so the internship course will at least allow you to get some practical experience in a law office, and you've got LCC to vouch for you so you can get your foot in the door.
Learning will allow you to grow. And as you grow, you're going to serve yourself well, and you're going to serve society well.